Hi, I'm Colleen Brennan.
And I'm Janice Rodriguez.
And this is Defending Indiana. Stranger things are definitely happening in Indiana. Today, we're discussing some of our favorite, very strange, weird, unusual, and interesting stories that have come out of the state. And we're joined today by our special guest, co-producer, Michael Miltenberger. Hey, Janice.
Hey, Colleen.
So I'm excited about today because we're talking about strange things.
Strange things. What kind of strange things?
Lots of strange things. So this episode is really inspired by Stranger Things, the TV show on Netflix, right?
Got it.
Because
I haven't seen the last, I think, 3 seasons. I was all in season 1, but don't tell me. No spoiler alerts.
Season 2 was really good. I think I saw season 3. Is there a season 4 now? I think there probably is.
I think there's like 5 and 6. Seriously. The kids are like postgraduate degree now.
I think there might be 4. 4, I think.
But they have their own families now. Yeah.
They're middle-aged. Yeah. They're actually our age because
exactly. Everything was just a flashback. Yeah.
Exactly. No, but what I love about Stranger Things is, number one, it was filmed in the fictional set in the fictional city of Hawkins, Indiana, Indiana, I think. I don't know.
Hawkins, yeah.
And it's so great because so many, I feel like the weirdest things happen in the smallest towns.
Yeah, that makes sense. So much going on, you know?
I mean, maybe there's more time to pay attention to the weird things.
True.
Like, there are too many other things going on in the big cities that
it's just too much.
We're distracted by violence. So
right. And like real problems. That's horrible. Yeah. But true. Yeah.
Yeah, horrible but true. So maybe there's more time to pay attention to the small strange things.
Yeah.
In a smaller town. I don't know. Literally, I have no sociological information to back this up. I have not studied it or researched it. I'm literally just spewing.
There we go. Yeah, we have no facts on this. I don't know. I feel like where you're from is a small town, but it was different.
Yeah, relative. I mean, I think when I was, 30 to 35,000, I'm thinking like small town, like 10,000 or less.
Okay. Like
I think when you're in Indiana, you have to start thinking there are so many small towns that there's categories of small town, right?
Yeah. I remember we were looking something up recently for the show and it wouldn't show up. It kept showing a different thing. I was like, oh, it's like unincorporated. If it's unincorporated something, that's like the boonies, I call it. So I don't even know where they, nobody wants them, right? It's like, we're just, it's so sad. This whole town, nobody wants us. And we're just going to be unincorporated.
They're gunning for corporation.
But, right, exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of unincorporated, but maybe they want it that way. Maybe they had the opportunity to be incorporated and they decided, nah.
I think they're like, what does incorporated mean? It doesn't sound right. Let's just do our own thing over here. Is that rude? Sorry. Small town.
Again, none of this is
true. Yeah, we have no idea.
It's just our musings. We're musing right now. We do have today, though, are some factual weird stories, meaning like these are things that have happened or things that people have talked about for years, documented strange things happening in Indiana. And we're going to be joined today by our fellow co-producer, sound editor, and theme music composer, Mr. Michael Miltenberger. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Yay! Woo! Because we want you to give us some of you were sort of an inspiration for this episode. Like you and I had talked about all the strange, weird things that we've seen coming up through Indiana, and we decided that this might make a really fun episode.
Yeah, I've watched enough Ancient Aliens and Finding Bigfoot to know that there's probably some stuff going on in Indiana as well. Mm-hmm. Figured let's look into it. Let's crack these cases,
Absolutely.
Wait, there's Bigfoot in Indiana?
I mean, there's Bigfoot. It's everywhere. Everywhere.
New York City and Manhattan, just walking down Wall Street. Okay.
Well, Michael, wait a minute. You did that's actually really interesting because I think, didn't you find some stuff on Bigfoot? Do you want to just in case anybody was concerned that Bigfoot was avoiding Indiana. Is there any proof that Bigfoot's been here?
Proof is, I don't know if I'd call it proof, but I mean, definitely there's a lot of people out in Indiana who are very much determined to find Bigfoot. Apparently there's an organization called the Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization.
Sounds so professional.
Oh yeah, I know. Has a Facebook group of over 3,000 members. People are legitimately, especially in like southern Indiana where it's a lot more wooded. You look at like Brown County, near like Nashville. There's a lot of people out there who really believe that there's like some sort of Bigfoot out there, that they've like seen the mythical creature himself.
All right. Well, we don't have any actual stories about Bigfoot sightings, do we?
I don't know. That there's none that I have on deck. Specifically, I just know that there is a large community of Bigfoot like researchers, if you could call it, enthusiasts, researchers, scientific experts in the paranormal, I guess. I don't know.
I'm using experts loosely. I'm using a lot of air quotes right now.
I definitely think that you'll find a lot more stories in like Oregon or up in Minnesota, because I think the forests are probably a little more dense out there. So yeah, there's not a lot, but I know that there are research groups for sure.
So we haven't been excluded in the Bigfoot story department. I guess that's what you're saying.
Not at all.
I always, the first time I watched that show Finding Bigfoot with you once, and it was absolutely hilarious. But at no point in that show is anyone actually finding Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's definitely a misleading name. I feel like it should be renamed Four Guys Walking Through the Forest and Yelling for 45 minutes straight, because that's all it really is.
Yeah.
And they give them like season after season.
Oh, they had like 8 or 9 seasons of this.
And that's one of like 10 shows on like 10 different networks. Like, people watch this stuff. They wouldn't make it if they didn't watch it. So
yeah, I watch this stuff. So clearly
I saw it too.
It's enticing television, you know?
I just want them at some point to find Bigfoot. This Finding Bigfoot, that the name of that show is so misleading. 8 seasons, right, Michael?
Seasons.
At least
like 10 episode seasons or whatnot.
The only conclusive finding is that they're not finding Bigfoot.
They're not finding him.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like it depends on what you consider finding Bigfoot. Like, I feel like there's always, like, one episode a season where they find, like, they're looking through, like, a thermal camera and they see, like, the outline of a person and they're like, I think we just found Bigfoot. And it's like, no, that's just some guy on a walk.
Yeah.
In the forest.
It's John that's with us. He walked over there
that's
to go
John.
Whiz.
That's our camera guy.
Oh, dang. Right.
He went to get a snack.
Seriously.
Yeah. I don't know. Evidence is in the eye of the beholder, I guess. I don't know.
I guess so. Well, let's start diving into some of our researched strange stories. Michael, you've just had a chance to sort of update us on Bigfoot. I'm gonna switch over to Janice, and I think Janice, you have like some recent strange stories happening?
I mean, I don't know if these are like on the level of Bigfoot, but this made national news a couple weeks ago. On I-69, there was a huge truck fire, and it was like, I just remember seeing it on the news, and all of a sudden there was like camels and zebras like on the outside, like on I-69, like there was all this camera. I'm like, what is going on? But apparently, that was a weekend circus, like a performance. This was the truck hauling the zebras and camels, and apparently a miniature horse as well. And so there was a horrible fire, but luckily everybody got there and like released the animals. The zebras were just eating the grass in the median, and it just sounded very Indiana to me. That's all.
So a fire started, and then they let the animals out, and then
there was some sort of car crash or truck crash, and like the truck went up in flames. I'm like, it could have been like a horrible disaster, but everyone came in and like released them, and the zebras were like, we're free. And then there was some camels, and then a miniature horse, and then everyone said it was a surreal scene of zebras munching on grass And it was in Marion, which is 60 miles northeast of Indianapolis. So there you go.
Wow.
You can look it up. The videos are, they're sweet, but I mean, it's horrible. They could have all like died tragically. And luckily the truck driver seems like he's okay, but it looks like the fire destroyed the truck. Second truck was sent from Fort Wayne to pick up the animals because they were on their way to Fort Wayne from Sarasota. Of course it was from Florida.
Yeah. I mean,
the U.S. has two best states coming together.
I was wondering when we were going to bring Florida into
I know. It always has to come in somehow. Anyway, I don't know if that's weird. I mean, it's just kind of like, wait, what? Like, imagine if you were driving by and you just saw a zebra. I think that'd be kind of crazy. So
that would be weird. Did they catch all of them?
Yeah, they caught them all. I don't think they like ran free. They kind of, I don't know. They kind of stuck around. It was, let's see, 5 zebras, 4 camels, and a miniature horse.
Wow.
Sorry, this was the hottest thing that happened in Grant County.
Do you think
in the past 2 weeks? So it was, no pun intended with the fire thing, but apparently, yeah. And it was so exciting. It made national news. So there you go, Indiana on the global forefront of news.
Wild animals in Indiana. Wow.
Is it weird? I don't know. It seems like it could happen any day in Indiana.
I don't know. I think it's a little weird. It's a little weird that they didn't go off. I'm a little more disturbed that they didn't completely escape. Like, why?
Right?
What about Indiana did they not want to go explore?
When they were free, they were like, it's our chance to run. They were like, nah, we're good.
I definitely feel like if I was corralling those animals, I'd be scared of like getting kicked by like a zebra or something like that. Like that seems like dangerous territory, right?
I don't know a lot about zebras, but they don't.
You don't want to get. Yeah, I'm not trying to like rope. What am I doing?
Terrifying.
Get back in the car. Like, how does this work? Yeah.
Like it's like you don't walk behind a horse or zebra's a horse, right? Like,
I have no idea. I'm not.
I think it's in the same DNA pool.
It's in the same genus.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or I'm just making this up totally. This is what we do, Michael. You know us. You edit these episodes.
Hold on.
Now we're going to look it up. I do feel like they share some DNA. And if they don't, right. And it's
that's the first thing on Google.
Is a zebra like a horse? It has to be.
Zebras are no more horses than donkeys are. So it is all belong to the equine species, but they have distinct characteristics of their own. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well,
cool.
Well, you learned it here,
stripes. Hence the stripes. I mean,
It's an educational podcast.
There we go.
It is comedic and educational. All right. Well, fascinating, I guess. Zebras. All right. I'm gonna throw out. So this isn't a recent story. This is something that I have a personal connection to, for strangeness. When years ago, and I mean many years ago, when I spent my one semester of college as a newsroom intern in South Bend, writing news, there were like a series of stories that fall that came in about crop circles, right? Do you guys know what crop circles are? Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, crop circles are literally designs in crops that appear out of nowhere, I guess. And they were like really interesting to a lot of people because of stuff that was happening in England back in like the 1980s. Anyway, so one of the stories that I had to write for the news back then was about a crop circle that had appeared close to South Bend, and people were, discovering it and finding it and calling in about it. And we reported on the crop circle. And then later we reported that the crop circle was made by a young boy who decided to just walk in circles to make his own crop circle because it was fun. So I'm wondering how many crop circles in Indiana, because there have been many. I'm looking here at the Independent Crop Circle Research Association that exists. And they have a list of at least 25 separate crop circle incidents, which interesting is not unlike Bigfoot. They're pretty much hoaxes. So there you go.
I was going to say.
Fun in Indiana, making crop circles.
I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, I'm just being honest. It's a cool thing to do. But why do you get on TV and say, I don't know, we just woke up in the morning when you were up all night making it with your John Deere? I don't understand.
Right.
Why get the media involved? What's the whole
attention? Lots of attention. You need attention. maybe. I don't know. Now we're going.
Now we're getting all deep and psychological. We need to bring a psychologist on. Why do people make crop circles? I don't know. It's bizarre. They're never real. I don't know. The ones like the Nazca lines and all that, but that's Peru. I don't know. Apparently there's few that may be alien related, but I'm going to go in Indiana that no. I'm going to say no on that.
I'm looking at a list of crop circle reportings from 1964 in Dale, Spencer County, Indiana, all the way to September 13th, 2008 in Bedford in Lawrence County, Indiana. Yeah. So people just can't get enough of these things.
I also feel like you have to be hoaxes because in my mind, if I'm an alien, I'm visiting somewhere. The last thing I'm thinking is, yeah, you know what? Let's go look at some corn. Let's go make some circles in a cornfield. You could
in the middle of nowhere.
You go look at New York. You go look at Chicago. You go look at any other place in Indiana. But you're like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go sit in the middle of this cornfield, and I'm gonna make a circle. I'm gonna
burn a design that's really gonna mess up with these people.
Yeah.
These people are gonna be messed up mentally when we leave here. It's gonna be amazing.
Exactly. What if it's real though? I always think that. What if it's real?
Are you worried that somebody's gonna come and make a crop circle in your backyard tonight?
Yeah, exactly. I got cameras now. That's the thing. Got cameras. I don't know. That'd be cool. I don't know. I just always feel like like, again, we were talking about a little bit off camera. Like all this stuff is coming out now, like in the government. They're like, oh yeah, we've had a few UFO, things they couldn't identify. So now it's like, I wonder if all these people in the middle of Kansas is like, see, I told you so. Like all these people we've called quacks for years. I was like, is there a chance that they were right-ish? I don't know.
It's possible.
I don't know.
The jury's out, I guess.
All right, Michael, what's your is that a good lead in for your
what I was going to say was Indiana's actually got one of the more famous mass UFO sightings actually in our country's history. Yeah. So if you guys are aware of the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, directed by the famous Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
In 1973 there was actually a very famous mass UFO sighting in Muncie, Indiana. So I believe it was in October 1973. There were reported to be like these red, white, and blue lights that were circling around the town. And basically the city was getting, call after call after call, 50, 60, 70 calls from different people in the city, basically reporting the same thing. So it was just like this array of very U.S. colored lights, I guess. But even a nearby airfield in Fort Wayne actually picked up the strange like blip on their radar, and like they couldn't account for it like whatsoever. So that's like one of those like kind of weird things where it's like could be real. That seems kind of plausible. It does.
It's so funny because one of the episodes that Janice and I have been planning, this is our 4th season, and every season we've been saying we want to do an episode on like UFO sightings in Indiana. And I worked so hard to try to find an expert or somebody from Indiana who had spotted something similar. And I actually heard somebody who I worked with years ago told me a story about he and his wife and their car, like some bright light passed over them and they were on a highway in northeastern Indiana, and their car stalled and all the cars in front of them and behind them on the highway stalled. And then a few minutes later, they all started up again. Like totally bizarre, right? And I don't know whether to believe any of this or not, but it would be fun to hear somebody give more specific detail about some of this stuff. So I don't know if anybody's listening out there and has a UFO story, we are here for it.
Yeah. Apparently they're all over the place. Apparently, allegedly. I mean, okay. So this is where I get a little weird. Should there be something out there? Yeah. It's a big whole universe. We don't know. Could it just be like China sending over like weather balloons? I'm using air, quotes again. Could it like, what's more likely? I'm thinking more likely it's another government than like some alien life form. But if it's an alien life form, okay, cool. We're not the only ones out there. We can't be.
Or maybe it's another dimension. Come on.
Oh, man.
Come on.
I'm going to start talking about black holes now because I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. So. I just make stuff up for sure.
I think that's what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you just said, PBS. I just gave you an hour of my life and none of it like went into my brain and made any sense, but I believe you.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. We're going to have to save this conversation for a whole other episode. I'm looking for a UFO specialist out there, people. Please help us. All right, Janice, what's your next up?
So again, I'm just using really recent stuff. This isn't maybe weird, but I just thought it was like really like, wow, this was in Indiana. And again, another thing that blew up in national news over the last couple of weeks. You guys heard we had that horrible snowstorm and everything here. And a young man was pulled from his car here in Portage, Indiana, after being trapped for 6 days. And it's just like, he's 27 years old, Matthew, I'm going to say Room. I'm sorry, I'm saying his name wrong. He's from Mishawaka, outside of South Bend. So I don't know if he was kind of driving. I know exactly the area it was on 94, if it was for work or whatever, but 6 days. And he's like drinking rainwater, and he's like, his car goes off and it's trapped. It's over there by Salt Creek. And like, he's trapped under this bridge. And just by chance, like the weather kind of clears up and two guys decide to go fishing. They see this truck and he's there and he's alive and no food. I mean, his, unfortunately they did have to amputate his leg because like his leg was trapped there, but they're saying it's nothing short of a miracle. He's been all over the news and everything. And he turns out to be like a really cool guy with like a very cool outlook on life. And I've been like following him now. And I was like, oh, that guy's he's going to be okay. You know, like, he's like, I'm just so grateful. And I don't know. It's just a really cool, it happened right after Christmas. Yeah. So it was kind of like a little Christmas miracle stories. I think that's why it went like national and global. I've seen it in like international newspapers.
Right.
But yeah, it just keeps kind of popping up because he did have to get the amputation. And I know that he was raising money. And then he's been like on the news on, Today's Show and things like that. And so good for him. I mean, sorry that it happened, but glad he's alive. And I feel like you're going to see more from him as like a public speaker or something. I don't know. He just has a good like vibe to him.
What's so strange about that story, which the first time, because I saw all that too, and I was like, whoa, is that he was under 94.
Yeah.
This is like an insanely heavily traveled stretch of interstate highway that, I mean, I drive over it like probably at least once a week.
Right.
And
you know how it is, how it's desolate.
How do you get lost? How did nobody see it? And then how do you get stuck? How frustrating would it be that you're literally under one of the biggest interstates in the country and nobody notices you for 6 days?
That's crazy. Really?
It's mind-blowing to me. And then the people who did finally find him were guys looking to fish right underneath there.
Yeah, and then they saw the truck and they're like, oh, it doesn't look right, but it kind of looked like covered. Like it was just, again, like a series of like coincidences. Like it went under a tree, but he was stuck, so he couldn't get out because like the dashboard kind of stuck his leg. But like same thing, that if those guys didn't go out and walk that way, because they were saying they were going to go somewhere else that day. Because I mean, it really was like on his last, he didn't have much more time left. So it just, strange coincidences of things coming together.
It's wild.
And they went up to the car and then he's like, oh, he could open his eyes. Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, thinking you saw and he's like, I'm alive. And that's what the guys, they interviewed the fisherman. He's like, and then he was alive. Like, I was like, oh my God, it's just the whole thing. If you want, check it out on YouTube. There's tons of stories and tons of interviews with him and the fisherman. I don't know. It's a feel good. It's sad what happened, but it's kind of a feel good story about like, sometimes you don't know who's pulling the strings because it was just, again, very similar. A bunch of different things had to happen for this guy to get saved is basically what I'm saying.
So strange and so remarkable. Like okay. So that's one of the good stories, right? Actually, Janice, you brought 2 good stories. Like the animals were saved.
Oh, I know, right? I'm trying to be happy in 2024.
You're achieving, Janice. You're an achiever. We've
Usually
been talking about this for 3 seasons. How you're the dark.
You're getting better. You don't just bring us dark, horrible stories about the end of the world. Oh, geez. Thank you. I'm improving. Thank you.
This is big. This is a big moment. I feel like we need a moment of, you don't need a moment of silence in a podcast, but
no,
but this is big. So congratulations, Janice.
Thank you. Changing lives here.
I love it. Yeah, so I'm gonna bring it back down to something that's strange. I'm confused by this story, but this was actually a big story throughout sort of the 2000s. There's this phenomenon that was called the Kokomo Hum. Have you guys heard of this at all?
Never.
Like a humming, like a noise? Like
there was a
low
frequency humming sound that some residents, not all of the residents of Kokomo, Indiana, but they said that, like, there was one woman in it was in the Washington Post. It was in New York. It was national news, right? And it was this low hum that was barely noticeable, but within months, the endless throbbing was like it bothered people so intensely that one woman said that the walls of her home vibrated, her bed shook. She had bouts of nausea, short-term memory loss, hand tremors. So there were all these residents from Kokomo who were experiencing what they assumed were side effects due to this low frequency hum that was pervasive and persistent for years. I mean, people were, one woman was selling her home to move to get away from it. It was just crazy. And so one woman quit her job and got out of the city. It was that significant. Okay. And so for many years it was reported, nobody could really find out what was going on. And then apparently there's a news story that it was solved like around 2022. Or actually I think a little bit earlier than that, but they said that they think they identified the hum as coming from a Daimler Chrysler casting plant that was somehow it was some sort of industrial, and they hired specialists to come in and investigate Kokomo for this sound because it was becoming so terrible for so many years. And they think it might have just come from a bunch of different factors that were coming from corporations and manufacturing in the city that created this pervasive hum. So that's
crazy.
You guys have the most puzzled faces right now.
Well, because the first thing that I thought of was that, what was it, the Havana effect?
Yeah, that's totally what I thought of. Like, was it terrorism or something? Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't remember the super specifics, but it was like something about like people in like I believe it was like a U.S. embassy.
Yeah,
in Havana were experiencing it was like psychological and physical symptoms based on like certain like high like frequencies that they were like hearing. So that's what I thought of first and foremost. But this was before that. So this started this low humming, and there were theories that, for heaven's sake, they said there were people worried that it was like some sort of government thing in the sense that the federal government was trying to suppress the impact that this was having on the community because they were supporting corporate interests over citizens. I mean, so all the things,
a whole thing in Kokomo.
All the things, Janice, as you would say.
In Kokomo.
Wow.
Of all the places. Okay.
Anyway, it's
I think if you're going to really do some kind of international conspiracy and use low frequency you're going to do it in Kokomo, Indiana. I mean,
Kokomo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so probably bringing in the big bucks, man.
Exactly.
That's my special story. You guys, there is a list of so many weird stories that we're not even going to be able to get to because we're going to have to wrap this up very quickly. Is there anything you want to like briefly mention? Michael, you had a really like throw this out there and then maybe we can revisit this in the future.
Yeah. So one of the I guess more famous or more interesting stories that comes out of Indiana in terms of like that sort of like Bigfoot-esque like creature sort of realm is a old Wampanoag legend called Pukwudgies, which are essentially like little trolls. They're like little like goblin little dudes. And apparently they have some form of they're like 2 to 3 feet tall. Apparently they lurk in the forest. And apparently they've been around for quite some time. They came from, I think, specifically the Lenape in Delaware, but their range is like anywhere on the East Coast. But apparently there have been people in Indiana who have claimed to have seen what they call a little man. One guy said that the guy had like dull blonde hair that covered his head like a helmet. Somebody else said that in Anderson, Indiana, she remembers being alone and was grouped by or approached by a group of little people who seemed curious what she was doing, looking like they had like big ears and high pitched voices. And it's cool. But all I can really think of when I hear about these stories is that they're just like weird kids. Like I hear about the blonde hair and I think it's just some random Indiana kid with a terrible haircut. Like that's all I can really think of. Make a crop
circle. Just
making a crop
circle.
These are the same kids that are involved with making crop circles.
Or this lady in Anderson's like, why is she was she in the woods? Like
she
on a bad like mushroom trip? Like what's going on here in Anderson? They're appearing to her. What does she say?
Okay, she was
approached.
She was on the patio of her nursing home.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. You're leaving a lot of details out here.
Now
so
come on.
So no, listen. The other ones were like
poor Gertrude. I seen the little kids again. The little people.
That's what makes me think it's like maybe it's just some weird looking
regular kids.
Yeah. But the other, it is enshrined in indigenous legend, and it has been for hundreds of years before white settlers, started inhabiting Indiana.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it is something that does have a lot of like rich history too. The validity, I'm not quite sure. But it is, I think, one of the funkier stories that I was able to find.
It is super funky. And there's a long history of this. I mean, from like the 1800s to now of people spotting or telling stories about experiences with the Pukwudgies, and they lurk or haunt the Mounds State Park in Indiana. That is so. I don't know if the nursing home butts up to the Mounds State Park in Indiana, but that might support her story, or poor
Dolores. I've changed her name 3 times. It was Gertrude. It was Dolores.
I believe it was. I
feel like it's Martha.
Mildred.
It was Eloise.
Oh, even better. Yes. Classic.
I'm so sad that I didn't guess that.
Yeah.
I love it. No, that's great. That reminds us, we still have to do an episode about Native Americans in Indiana.
I know.
Henceforth, the name of the state. So,
I know.
Okay, this is the episode where we're like reigniting all of our thoughts and feel bad about the things we haven't done yet. But we're good. So let's do one more shout out to one of the weirdest things that we've already covered, which is the toothbrick. Janice, do you wanna just make sure that everybody understands what this thing is? And it's so funny because I've been out obviously since then. Was it in Mishawaka or Elkhart?
It was in Elkhart.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't even believe. But the thing is, it's not there anymore.
No, they had to move it.
They had to move it.
So many people were chipping.
Exactly. It was knocked over by youthful vandals. Apparently, I'm taking this verbatim from this thing, but it was located on the corner of West Lexington Avenue and South Riverside Drive. It became a really big. It wasn't supposed to be a tourist attraction. It was for like a dentist. He made it. Remember we talked about that on the episode with Erica.
Yeah, check that out. And we talked about it at the end of season.
Right, because it was just so strange. Yeah. So yeah, he just did it as kind of like this. What am I going to do with all these teeth that I've extracted from people and things like that? And he put it in a mound of cement and it took off. And then, with the spread of like social media, then I guess it got more popular outside. But so then somebody knocked it over, I think in like 2015 or so, maybe earlier. But it says the Elkhart toothbrick is permanently closed. So
I thought they moved it to like there was like an Elkhart museum, and it's like in the gardens of like it's protected
in
now.
Gardens. Oh God!
And they
it's the 40s. It's the 40s and 50s. It was Dr. Joseph Stamp. He was a dentist, and he started putting all these teeth in there.
Ew. Janice, we got to go see it.
We do have to go. Actually,
we have to go see it. That is so.
Like, I hate teeth so bad. I hate them.
That's so weird. And people like I'm just fascinated by the idea that people were like, "Ooh, let's go get a chisel and break off part of that tooth brick and bring it home."
Yeah.
Like, why?
Like, who wants that? Right?
Why?
It's crazy. So he pulled thousands of teeth over the course of that time. He was a dentist for 60 years.
Did
he preserved them in chemicals in a barrel in his basement?
Yeah.
And
was that the only thing they found in his basement?
This is what I'm saying. I thought it was a little, you've heard the stories of people who die and they go into the basement finally. They're like, whoa, like of like funeral directors and stuff. So that's where my mind went, Michael. Thank you. But sometimes there's just pieces of teeth rather than the whole one. Yeah, incisors, canines. See, I hate teeth so bad. Sorry.
Yeah, this is still. I don't know why I'm fascinated with this super creepy, weird, fascinating story of a tooth brick. But anyway, I think that's.
I totally forgot about this. Maybe we brought this up. I'm sorry. The original thing, the reason why he started this was because he wanted to create a memorial to his dog, to his German Shepherd Prince.
Okay.
So it started when he took the dog's teeth, apparently. That makes it creepier now.
Yeah.
None of this is helping.
Yeah.
The story. I thought it was like gonna be
no.
I thought it was gonna be a better story.
No, it's
we
a
were
good
expecting
story.
this to be heartwarming, yeah.
No, it got grosser. Oh my God.
But I love that you were looking for the silver lining.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's cool. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. It gets kind of. What can I tell you, dude?
I support your quest to be more optimistic.
I was trying so hard, but in case, you want to go, you can see it and look at the teeth that are inside a concrete block.
All right. Well, there you have it. Defending Indiana listeners, we have just broken down some of our favorite strange stories. We really haven't even scratched the surface. So we've got to do a whole separate haunted Indiana because there's some good ghost stories coming out of Indiana, people. And definitely UFO stuff where we can dig in a little bit more. I think we might have covered tooth brick as much as we can. I don't know. Has Taylor Swift
to death? We're done. We need to retire tooth brick. Don't ever bring it up again.
Join us next week for Defending Indiana live at the Elkhart.
Right.
Wow, I can't speak. The Elkhart Tooth Brick. It's just a live show. I'm gonna set you guys up between the
with no permission. Let's just go up there.
Oh yeah, or just like right outside.
Let's do it.
Like, who are these people?
I'm in.
Oh
I'm in. Do you think
so? I take it back. We may be doing one more thing about the tooth brick, but after that, we're retiring.
Just one more.
We're reserving the right for one more. Right.
All right. Well, guys, this has been super fun.
Truly.
I want to do this again.
We're going to do it again.
I'm here for it. All right. So everybody, go check out more of these stories. Feel free to correct us. And hey, what would be really cool is if you gave us some suggestions. You can always check out our website, defendingindiana.com. You can check out us on all the socials, follow, subscribe, share with your friends. And we love listener ideas. So please send some of your ideas for crazy, weird stories that we might enjoy highlighting on one of our future episodes. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, today. Defending Indiana, featuring Colleen Brennan and Janice Rodriguez, is produced by Colleen Brennan and Janice Rodriguez. Theme music and sound editing by Michael Miltenberger. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you can subscribe to Defending Indiana wherever you find your favorite podcasts.